welcome, Layria. Thank you for coming on. We were just talking about setting up the episode and stuff like that, and how I'm bad at hitting people up, or I don't know. But anyway, so yesterday, 2 days ago, I was in Discord with Marvel and one of my friends, and I was talking. I was like, "Yeah, I'm supposed to do an episode with Layria, but like, I really don't want to bother her or whatever." And Marvel's like, "Oh, I'll hit her up," or something like. Somehow that happened. I was like, "No, no, no, don't." And then like, it seemed suspicious the timing. So anyway, I wanted to no pressure in the future. Like if I hit you up again down the line and you're like, listen, it's just not in my schedule, like I will not be upset. I understand.
No, I
So
love
it's
doing
a
this.
big
I'm
favor to
so
me
happy
and I
that like
really
both of you
appreciate
reached out. Yeah, no, thank you for
it.
having me.
I was trying to have her join, but I think she's West Coast and she's a little bit of a gamer sleep schedule, so I think she is not available, but I don't know. I thought it'd be cool
Yeah,
to
I
have
remember
the
that from
double
the
druids.
DDI tournament that we did. I remember
Yes.
having to be careful about the way that we scheduled
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the practices leading up to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so cool. So that's a cool intro. So that's the first time I ever spoke to you. Was the Dungeon Dojo thing that we did. I was like a reserve player. I didn't actually play with you guys in like the tournament or anything, but I was kind of like around and just in case. And we did some practice stuff, which was super fun. Um, but my first, so okay, back in BFA, I don't raid anymore, but I used to, and I used to play Resto Druid, and I used to watch your raid videos. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
this was before I even had Twitch or anything, so I never like followed you on Twitch because I didn't even have a Twitch account. And then when they were making the Dungeon Dojo thing, I was like, Laria, that sounds so familiar. And Marvel was like, yeah, she's like a restaurateur. I'm like, huh. And then I open your stream and I'm like, oh my God, I know this lady. Holy shit. It was like a whole like, damn, I completely forgot. So it was really cool
That like
to be like,
realization.
she's still playing restaurateur. She's still like kicking ass. Like it was really cool. I felt like a bit of a fanboy for a sec there.
Oh,
So it was cool. I'm glad you're still rocking, making content and stuff. Um,
yeah, I actually just got a message, like a random whisper in game yesterday from somebody in the Cult of Alun guild, which is like an all druid guild. They're on Stormrage.
oh, okay.
They and I actually, yeah, I have people joke that I have like 20 druids. Actually, no, they joke and they say I have like 80 druids. I don't. I have like five or six. And at one point, they were all max level in
Reasonable.
BFA, but that was when we had Alliance and Horde. So like I had two
Sure.
Alliance druids. One was my main, and one was a druid I brought to the heroic Cult of Alun raid that they do every week.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's in their guild. But anyway, and then one was Horde. So someone from that guild reached out to me yesterday. They said the same thing. They were like, "Oh, I used to watch your videos, but I don't see you post on YouTube." And I was like, "I know. I'm more like on Twitch now." So it's funny. It's because it was
Yeah,
like the exact same story.
that's funny. Yeah, it's cool. I like when I see people that I used to watch or whatever, whether it's like a podcast or anything, or even like an actor in like a movie. I'm like, damn, they're still like, it's cool. Like
They're
I
still
like it.
around.
So yeah, I love it. Um, yeah. So I have a couple questions from Discord. So when I know I have someone scheduled, I kind of do like a ping in my Discord, and then people can ask questions if they want. So I figured we'll look at those first and see if anything
Okay.
jumps out, and then we can get sidetracked and talk about other shit at the same time. Like we don't have to get to all of them, but just as like a nice little starting off. So I guess you know Solar, and I think this is a troll question, but I figured
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I know the name Butters. Like I've heard someone talk about those.
Yeah. All right. So,
Does
all right.
Butters not deserve the heels? I'm on your
I
team. Whatever this
Oh,
is, I'm
you
on
are.
your
Oh,
side.
oh,
Don't worry.
excellent. I think a lot of people, half my community will be on our side, and half of them will be like, no, she doesn't heal him.
Okay.
All right. So it kind of, I actually don't know how it started exactly. It might have started when we had, what was it called? It was Mop. Was it Mop? Yeah, Mop. Not the
Oh,
time
like the
walking. Oh my
remix
gosh,
thing.
the remix. There you go. I was like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, it wasn't time walking. We had Mop remix, and we were doing so Butter played that a lot. I had been doing Eve Ascension leading up to that, and
Okay.
we had a lot of practices, and that's it's a Team Liquid Mythic Plus tournament for those who don't know.
Yeah.
And so for about a month before that, I was playing like 4 or 5 days a week practicing for that, and then we had the event. So anyway, so I missed a lot of Mop remix, and Butter he's someone on my in my push group, and he was playing it a lot. And so finally, when I was like, oh, I have the time, he was like, oh, okay, well, like my Demon Hunter is like super geared. It's gonna annihilate everything. We'll just go and we'll get you
Mm.
some gear and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And I bombed him in one of the dungeons, the one where you have to like stand on the edge and you have these like amber things and you like throw them off the edge and it hits the mobs and the mobs blow up. There's a
Oh,
dungeon. I
okay.
can't remember what it's called now.
I
And
vaguely remember this mechanic. Yeah.
I hit him with one of the bombs because he had jumped down because he was so geared that he was just like killing everything immediately. And I was like, and I was streaming at the time, and I said, "Oh my gosh, okay, don't let him know I did that." And I guess he had it up in the background. And he was like, "What are you talking
Mm.
about? Did
Oh
were you
no,
the
that's
one
the
who just bombed
worst.
me?"
Yeah.
And I know, and I was like, "No, I did. I would never do that. I did not bomb you. I swear I didn't."
Mm.
And then I bombed it a second time after that, also by accident. So I think that's how it started. Because now every time we do a dungeon, I for some reason tend to bomb him with things like anything and everything. And now part of it is I do kind of seek him out on purpose now.
Right, right. Now it's become a meme or a
It's
bit or
become a
whatever.
meme. And so now every time I start stream, people come in and they're like, hashtag heal butter,
Oh my
hashtag
god.
bird. Yes. Oh yeah. There's a feud going on.
That's
Some people think
awesome.
I do heal him. Some people think I don't. I think I have enough
Very
clips now that I could
divisive
have a
issue.
montage, this like compilation of bomb butter clips though.
That's awesome. That stuff's so fun. That's part of what I love about this game is like all the silly things that I don't know. Every like group and clique has their own little like memes that go on and stuff. It's so fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very fun game. All right, what else we got? Oh wait, that's the same one. Why was that on there twice? Okay. Well,
It's just
I
that
think you know
important.
Jess, but maybe
Yes.
not. Yes, okay. Said ask her what her opinion is on the changes to the Druid Tree that mostly lock you into physical or magical damage as opposed to the mix they used to do. How are
I
you
actually
feeling
think that
about
was a
that?
really good change
Mm-hmm.
because so we kind of had both in a way in Dragonflight and but then it was kind of like you took a little bit of it. It was in Dragonflight it was a mess. The class drew like
Yeah,
talent
the
tree was a
Druid Tree
mess.
was like insane for so long. I
Yeah,
would be
well
so
cuz you're
frustrated
trying to
every
fit
time I'm like, what am I doing here?
Yeah,
Like
you're
move
trying to
these.
fit 4 spat and it's the only class that has 4 spat. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to fit all of that into one talent tree and it was just a mess and you
It's
were
hard,
wasting
yeah.
points to try to get to something. So I think they made a lot of great changes going into the War Within. However, they got rid of the balance druid form, like the balance form as resto. You
Yeah.
couldn't like slip into that. And for the
My
longest time, like
gosh.
my binds, I do have I think it's a glyph where you can turn into a little tree and it doesn't do anything anymore. You don't have to heal in a tree form, but I have
I
that. So
know.
now my old boomkin keybind was the tree. So for the longest time I was like hitting boomkin form
Oh,
if I had to be at ranged or something. And
sure.
I was slipping into the tree form. So but now
Mm.
they brought it back. So season 1 we didn't have that. Season 2 we do have that again. I think it's in general I think it's a really good change. I think a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
still tend to go cat form, especially with Wild Stalker, which
Yeah,
tends to lean toward cat form anyway.
sure.
Um, and it's I mean, Boomkin for I don't really think I mean, I haven't really been paying attention to like the high. I saw that there was like a plus 20 key that was recently last night, I think. I'm trying to remember what
Hmm.
dungeon that was. But like, we are seeing some of those higher keys now. But at least in season 4 of Dragonflight, we're seeing a lot of Resto Druids go Boomkin form as like a 4th DPS. And I don't think we're seeing that as much now.
Yeah.
That I'm kind of happy to see because as a healer, I want to be able to heal, but I want my healing to be meaningful. And so um, I think in terms of like the changes they made to the class talent tree, it's good because it feels meaningful.
Yes, I like the tree a lot more now, and I also, how you mentioned, like it seems like a lot less healer damage, like focus, where especially with Oracle Discipline, where you kind of just accept, hey, they're not really going to do much damage really at all, like 200, 300k, and you're not as a healer, you're not really, at least me, I'm not pushing like crazy high keys, but I've healed like 13s, 14s on my priest, and like way lower keys on my Resto Druid, but I feel way less pressure to be like having my focus on like optimizing my damage, and I'm more just like, let me just keep everyone safe, let me nail these heal checks, like I don't need to be crazy greedy. And I don't know if that's just how the season works or if it's, I don't know, I'm not really sure, because damage is really important now, but I think a healer trying really hard to do damage isn't going to do like as much as the tank really in any situation, I feel. So it's kind of like, hey, why would I take that risk of like playing more greedy I don't know if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up a
Yeah, no,
screenshot
no,
as
it
well
does.
of
No,
the.
absolutely. I think so. What I usually tell people when, like, I feel like I have people come to stream and they're like, "Hey, I'm not like super good at." Oh, thank you. Yeah, I swear, I
Gotcha.
saw something
I don't want
last
you to think
night
I
that
was
was.
ignoring you. I was trying to
No,
quickly
I had
pull
a
it up
feeling
on
you're
the other
looking at
monitor.
something. You're looking for something.
Yeah.
But people come in, they're like, "Oh, I don't really know when to slip into cat form. How do you cat weave?" And I'm like, "All right, look, if you're it depends on the key level you're doing. That's the first thing I start with, because if you're doing like 15 16s, yes, it's kind of important to know when to cat weave. However, by the time you get to that level, you already feel comfortable with the dungeons and you kind of know when to cat weave.
I
um,
have 13 seconds here. I could put out some bleeds. I could do a couple things, and
exactly.
it's already like baked into your mind. Like,
Exactly. It's baked
yeah.
in, it's ingrained because you know those pulls, you've seen them over and over and over again.
hmm
You know that in this pull, there's one mob that does an AoE channel. Okay, well, that comes out in 15 seconds. You have, you can put up a few bleeds, especially on a prio target, or, get off a few shreds or a
Yes,
bite or whatever. Or
totally.
maybe you have a convoke and you're not planning on using that defensively. You can, use it beforehand. But so I usually tell
hmm
people, though, even before all of that, if you just want to put dots up on things, that's totally
Yeah.
fine. Like, I'm still fairly new to High Mythic Plus. Like, my first title was season 3 of Dragonflight, and that was the first season where I was like,
Okay.
oh, well, I wasn't trying to get title. It kind of just happened. I was like, oh, let's see how
Yeah.
high we can go in the highest key. Before that, I only ever did whatever the weekly max level key or lowest key that you needed
Okay.
to do to get the highest amount of gear. I think that's the
Sure. So
way to
like
phrase it.
equivalent of weekly 10 or 12 or
A
whatever,
weekly
like that kind
10.
of range.
Anything
Yeah.
above that, I
Sure.
was terrified. And so with
Yeah.
that said, like, I used to be that person who would just like sit in boom conform away from the
hmm
group, and I'd put up dots and, spam wrath or whatever, or starfire, and that was it. And so that's what I tell people now. If you are not super comfortable cat weaving, but you want to contribute damage, just start with that and then work your way up. And then
Yeah.
maybe you do want to slip into cat form, and now it's like, okay, well, just start putting dot, or bleeds up on things. Or even if you
hmm
don't want to tab target and do that, just pick a target and shred. Like, just try to get into that
Yeah.
habit of, this is cat form, this is when I'm DPSing. Make sure you're
Because
FLO and
you could be really helpful. I mean, I'm not sure how much damage exactly it does, but if you're doing, say, there's a big pull and there's one mob, like think first pull floodgate with that shred guy. If you
yes.
just go cat form and put your 2 or 3 bleeds, your moonfire or sunfire on that guy, and then spend your combo points on him, and you just maintain those dots, maybe you're not going to be topping the meters, but if like most of your damage is done to the one target that will be alive at the end of the pull, that's really, really helpful. And it doesn't really show up in the bar the same way, but it feels really fun as a healer. You're like, listen, I'm not doing a ton of damage, but like the damage I'm doing, if you check, like I'm paying attention, and like I don't know, every little bit adds up, and I think that's really fun to have
Well,
that
I love
choice.
that
You
you
could be like,
mentioned
I'll
that.
Starfire.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, so that pull in particular, I know which one. When you start the dungeon, you kind of like weave in between the two packs and you go up onto that little
Yeah.
platform.
hmm
That's usually done with Lust, like a hero.
Right.
And if there are several talents you can take to really optimize your cat damage. And so with hero, and those talents in both the resto tree and the class tree, you can also take Nature's Vigil, you could take Heart of the Wild. And if you pop all of
True.
that and then also use Convoke offensively, you can
Hmm.
actually do a ton of damage, especially prio damage on that one target, if
Right.
that's your
Yeah, that's
focus. So,
huge.
and I think that's really what's important about healer damage is, like you said, you want to make sure that everyone's alive, you're making it through the heal checks, etc. But prio damage is really what matters, because if you have a
hmm
giant pull, but you really need to get a mob down to make the pull a little bit easier and then deal with all the rest of them, or if you're trying to chain pull into something else,
Exactly.
get that
Yeah.
prio target down and then chain
hmm
more. Like, those are the small things, the kind of big thing, but the small things I think that make the keys really smooth, that a lot of people don't think about. Sometimes the key
Totally.
just seems to be running smoothly and you're like, why did that go so well? And sometimes it's
hmm
just as simple as you had a ton of damage, like especially if an arcane mage, if they are
Right.
I mean, they're very good at funnel damage. So if you have
hmm
that kind of damage profile in your group, plus a healer's also targeting the prio target,
hmm
again, it just makes things super smooth. So that's kind of, eventually, that's what I try to tell people is like, start with dots. And then this
Yeah.
is where you could eventually, like, that's what you're aiming for, is to contribute that kind
And
of help
there's
to the group.
also like the other side of, or like another component of that is, say you were playing a different kind of setup and you're in boom conform spamming Starfire, that pull. you might be doing more damage, but you're actually killing the mage's funnel, and the mage is going to do way more priority damage than you are. So like, there's times when you're, I don't know exactly how Fire Mage works this season, but like Flame Strike versus Pyro, and it's like if you Flame Strike all of the ads that don't matter, and then the other classes in your group have no funnel, then their damage is going down on the priority. So like, there's so many moving parts, and it could be tempting to be like, oh, well, I could do 3 times more if I stand here in Boomkin form a mile away, and Boomy Convoke gets Starfall going, Starfire spam, whatever. And then what you'll notice at the end of that poll, if everyone's playing kind of more in that direction, is that Shredder will be alive and there'll be no funnel left. And
Yep.
I suspect it would be less like it would be bad to do that kind of. And I don't know. It's just interesting choices you get to make as Druid, I think, especially because I think all the other healers are kind of, I mean, I guess they're similar, but like as Discipline, I just dot the main guy and then I just penance off him the whole time, and it's still priority damage, but I don't have a button that I could press instead. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that. I guess the big like a big tip that someone took, because I started playing Disc Priest about a week ago, because my group wants to play meta, and I was like, well, let's see how this goes. Let me. I haven't played it since BFA. Let me try it out. And someone told me that you can, because when you dot a target and then you use penance, that spreads to 2 other targets.
Yes.
So you can dot penance, switch targets, dot penance, and it continues to spread it to other targets. And then you have a whole bunch of targets with that dot, which then if you have atonement, then so I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
It's fun. It's cool. Yeah. It's fun to, because I played Shadow Priest. I played like, well, I guess you don't know me too well, so I'll just kind of explain. I just play like a bunch of alts, usually like a little bit above the weekly key level, and then I have like 1 or 2 that I go a little bit higher with. I've never got title, but I was above it like once, and then my group stopped playing, and I was just like, I don't want a pug title. It wasn't like a goal of mine, but it did feel a little bit bad to be like I would check the thing every couple weeks, and I'd be like, oh, I'm above it. Oh my God. And then as weeks went by, I was like, oh, I'm below it. I think I missed it by like 40 points, but I was like, whatever. But I've also played Shadow Priest. That was on Augg. So I played Augg, Shadow Priest, and Shadow Priest is very priority target oriented. So going into Disc, I already have that mindset. Like my plater is set up in a way where like before the poll starts, it's very clear like this is my prior mob. So even as Disc, it's like I Shadow or Pain that, I penance off it the whole time. I'm mind blasting that target, and I'm not doing a ton of damage, but like I try to be very intentional, and it's very fun. I forget where I was going with that.
It is really fun.
Just to give you background,
I've loved it.
Yeah. I miss. Oh, that brings me kind of to my next question. Oh wait, what the hell? Remove, add. Okay. So Panda's trolling me because what's your opinion on Augg, and why shouldn't I Narnar play it? Well, now it's like dead, but they just like How did you feel about Augg though? Like playing with Augg?
I wanted to play it. Well, I actually, so here's the thing. I actually don't really know any Oggs. Our hunter in the group, he actually swapped to Augg in season 4 because we wanted to sort of play meta, or at least maybe not a full meta comp, because we were pugging. It was myself, a rep paladin, and then he had swapped to Augg, and that was pretty much it. We pugged a 3rd DPS and a tank the whole season, and it was awful. I was about 50 points off title at the end, and that was like staying up for 2 weeks straight until 4 or 5 in the morning trying to pug with him. It was terrible. But anyway, so he played it. I really wanted to try it because I already tried Dev, and I loved Devastation and Dragonflight.
Healers are so good at Augg. Oh my God.
That was the other thing I heard. Everyone like who just kind of knew Augg or had tried it before was like, oh, you play a healer. Playing Augg with a healer perspective, it means that you're going to do really well. Like you have a different perspective when you play it. And I was like, all right.
It's very fun.
So in season 1 of The Warp Within, I think I leveled as Prez because it's healer, like it made the most sense. Sure, and then once I got a bit of gear, I tried Augg, and I actually don't like it. I understand the utility is incredible. I think it's actually a little bit OP. It's a little bit too OP, and so I'm happy to not see them this season. But I don't really like the play style. And here's the thing, because I've talked to other people. I was talking to Quasi about this, like I think sometime in season 1, because I was like, oh, hey, that was right around the time when I was playing it. And he had talked to Kess, who, is a huge Evoker player. And I watched that interview with him. And Kess went into a lot of little things that I didn't even know about Augg. Like,
Same.
you
I
know
remember
how,
that video and being like, "Oh,
yeah,
that's interesting."
like how
Yeah.
to read logs, because a lot of people don't know how to
Yeah.
read Augg logs, and how it
Right.
might look like an Augg is not doing well, but it's not the Augg itself. It could be the tank that's pulling, or it could be the DPS that missed their CD, or whatever it might be. Like,
Mm.
there's a lot of moving parts with Augg. But not only that, people I think tend to look at the Augg rotation and go, "Oh, that's easy. That's such an easy spec to play," and it's actually not. And I
It's
still stand by that statement.
it is very like I get what you're saying because it's very
It's
easy if
technical.
all you're doing is being like, I'm gonna do my rotation. But what I always explained was like I like classes where my like I think there's like spotlight and floodlight focus where like your spotlight focus, if you're playing a really hard class, is gonna be on your buffs and your timings and like how many charges of this do I have and what's going on here. And that's cool, and I know a lot of people that enjoy that, and I think like true damage players really enjoy that play style. But I'm like mostly a healer, tank, like support player. I don't really love doing straight damage classes. I like when I was playing mage, I'm like obsessed with getting perfect altered times and like instantly decursing, and I'm like
Yeah.
doing 20% less damage than everyone else, and my friends hate me, and I'm just like, okay, this isn't for me. But when I play Augg, or I don't play it too much anymore. I've done like a 13 or two or something when my friends like let me play it, but I'm not like trying to play it this season. But what I would always explain is like my kind of like AoE focus is kind of on my rotation, but my spotlight focus is on my party frames and the boss timers. So I would look like, okay, this bleed's coming out in 3 seconds. In 1 second, I'm going to pre-mouse over the tank and instantly cauterize it to get it on CD so it lines up. And then this AoE is coming out in 10. I'm looking at my priest. Do they have Desperate Prayer? Or what is it? Desperate Prayer? Yeah, the
Yeah.
priest
Yeah. The
defensive.
defensive.
And then I'll look and I'll be like, okay, the shaman doesn't have wall, but the priest has this, the mage has this. So in 4 seconds, I'm going to rescue the shaman into the F-low. I always try to like move them somewhere that makes more sense. And like, that's the whole game that I was playing was like,
Yeah.
you're basically just co-healing the dungeon and like trying to save people and
While
trying to
also
use your
still using
CCs
utility.
first. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
So I'll
because you
be
have a
like,
knock back, you have a knock up, you
mm-hmm,
have Zephyr. There,
it's so
like,
fun.
it's doing all the
Sleepwalking
technical
things
stuff.
as a
Yes,
kick
sleepwalking
sometimes.
things. Like,
Yeah.
it's so, I think people forget how technical it is, and how difficult it is to not only be like the co-healer, like you just said, like that approach, but
Mm-hmm.
also be aware of the pull itself, because
Mm-hmm.
you also have an interrupt that
Yeah.
people rely on too. So you're watching interrupt rotations, you're watching what other people like. Did someone go before you? Are you oftentimes I've seen evokers, Augg evokers especially, were the shot callers in their groups. So it
Mm-hmm.
is, I think,
They have
yeah,
a lot more mental like space to be calling stuff
yeah,
out too,
they
and you
have a
take a
lot
lot of
of different
pressure off
hats.
people. Totally. It was
And you're
it's
still expected, because if you
so
don't do
fun.
yeah, it's fun, but if you don't do the evoker damage rotation and buff rotation correctly, because you're busy doing all
Mm-hmm.
that, then the
Right.
group suffers itself. And I don't think a lot of people
That's
realize that.
true. I guess for me, I had played it so long, and I'm not like the best or anything, but I never was focused on my rotation. I just have everything like bound to my mouse, and it's really like you ebb and my you extend with that. You press your spenders like on CD pretty much, or your
Yeah.
like empowered spells or whatever. It was very much just like autopilot in the back of my head. And sure, I probably missed a little uptime, but my logic was always like, if someone's going to sacrifice optimal rotation in the group, like I should be first in line. Like I should be first in line to hover out of the pack, kick the thing so it walks in, and then sleepwalk it towards the pull, or like get behind it and typhoon it, and just like let the mage sit there and combust. Like
Yeah.
because most people that play damage, they just want to do damage. They don't want to be bothered to like move around and do a bunch of stuff. So I don't know. It was a fun time. I get people didn't like it, but it was. I feel like that spec is like designed for me. It was so perfect.
Oh, nice.
Like I would tank and heal all the keys on like weekly level, whatever. So I kind of understood. Hey, I've died here as a tank because I got 5 bleed stacks. So I'm gonna wait till he gets 4 and then caught it,
Yeah.
and then when he gets 3, I'm gonna typhoon them away and get the reset. Like it's just a fun mini game.
You have
I don't
that
know, but
knowledge. Yeah. From experience.
kind of not like I'm like an expert, but like I just know, hey, I've died because of this, so I can kind of like that's where my focus was. So when people say like Augg is like too easy or whatever, I get what they mean, but I would just tell them like, I guess it's too late because no one's playing it, but like you want to focus on other stuff. Like your rotation
Yeah.
is like saving the healer who's 40 yards away and there's a frontal pointed at them, and you could rescue them across the map and give them a shield. I don't know. I'll move off Augg because I could talk about it. I'm very
Forever.
passionate about Augg. But yeah, so I guess it's good that it's gone. Definitely frees up a space this season for like actual DPS classes, and nothing should be OP forever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm cool. Let's see. What else we got? Speaking of meta stuff. So Frank is always asking questions about meta. He's very meta obsessed. He's mostly kidding, but so what do you get more enjoyment from? I guess like your spec being meta and being really strong, or do you like being kind of the underdog who gets to be like, look, I'm still kicking ass on my Resto Druid, even though no one likes it? Or
I
how do you
think
feel
up
about those?
until here's the thing. When I was so Resto Druid was still meta in season 4 of Dragonflight, and that I think
Mm.
is partly why it felt so bad to be about 50 points off, because I did play the entire season. Like my team got second place in Eve Ascension. Like I was shot calling in my group, like not in Eve
Mm.
Ascension, but separately, in our push group.
Mm.
And even with all that knowledge in the dungeons, there just weren't a lot of people playing season 4, unfortunately. Like we would sit for 40, 45 minutes just waiting for people to queue up for our key. It
Oh
just,
man,
if,
yeah.
with comparable experience, that is. I mean, if you're trying to pug an 18 and someone has a 14,
Right, yeah, of course.
that's too
There's
big of a
people,
jump. Like
but not the
there's
people you
people,
want to,
yeah,
yeah.
not the people, and I'm not looking for all
I feel
18's
you.
time, but yeah,
Yeah,
not a 14 to an 18.
in the
So
neighborhood.
in the neighborhood, yeah, and it
Mm.
was incredibly difficult to find people who were also like 40, 50 points off of title. So and then
Mm.
in season 1, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play Resto Druid. I feel confident. We got this. Season 1 was incredibly difficult to
Mm.
play a Resto Druid in those dungeons. It was just it didn't feel great. It was difficult to heal through the AoE. I specifically remember the second boss in Dawnbreaker, the one with the orbs that kind of like
Mm.
shoots down and then it has
Yes,
the ads and then does the
the
AoE.
healer boss. Yeah.
Yes, and then also there is a pull, or there was a pull in City of Threads. At the
Mm.
last boss, you have those two giant mini bosses, and normally you'd pull one at a time.
Yeah, like 30
But
seconds in, everyone's just dead. Or
yes,
like the
because
overlap timing.
yeah, there's an overlap timing. There's also
Mm.
the AoE, and the AoE is fine, but we had a completely non-meta comp. Other than the tank.
Mm.
The tank was prop paladin. I was playing Resto Druid, not meta. We had a rep paladin, not meta. Survival
Mm.
hunter, also not meta.
You're
Also
right.
doesn't really add any group util, like no
Sure.
Zephyr, no mage barrier, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Just kind of tanky as a class itself. And then we had a
Mm.
warlock. But the problem is
Mm.
we had to really micromanage all of our personal defensives. We had to know when the rep paladin was going to sack somebody and then bubble that. We had to know
Mm.
who the prop paladin was sacking. It was just every decision had to matter in those polls, and that showed me this is what it means to not play a meta spec or a meta
Right.
comp, because it really does come down to when people say they want a dispriest, it's because they want their key to go easier. They want it to be smooth. They want a powered shield. They want, which I use
Mm.
as like a defensive, basically. If I see
Yeah.
like
Oh
two
my
bolts are
God.
about to
It's
go
so
off, like
funny.
it's like putting an iron bark on somebody in a way, because it just like eats the
Certainly.
damage and then they're fine.
Unless
And
they're gonna take 2 health bars worth of damage, I think it's better than Iron Bark. Because Iron Bark's what, 20%?
it's 20%.
Or
Yeah. So
yeah.
sometimes that's not, yeah, depending on
I'm not
depending on
good
the
at doing
health they're
math,
at.
but like the amount of health damage prevented, like the shield almost always will be more, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it'd
And
have to
that's what
be
I've
like
noticed is
more than their health
priest.
bar. Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that especially in season 1, because I continued to play Resto Druid. We didn't play
Yeah,
meta,
sure.
and it was fine. It does feel good. It feels good to say, hey, this is the score I got. I ended up being, I think we were about 200 points off. We kind of stopped. We just got too far into the season. The tank we were playing with could only play 1 day a week, and that's not super
Mm,
consistent. So,
that's
um,
hard, yeah.
yeah, and he's incredible. Like I would continue to play with him, but he has a work schedule
Mm,
that just fluctuates. So, yeah, we just kind of felt defeated. But yeah, I think when people say we want a meta comp, it's to make the key feel smooth, because if you had to coordinate every defensive, okay, so for example, the last boss on Dawnbreaker, I think we did this on a
mm,
15. We the first time we did it, we got to that boss. I don't even think we were going to time it. We were just kind of trying to see like what we needed to prog and what we needed to
sure, yeah.
schedule, and the DPS were all using their defensives um picking up the bombs on that last boss in Dawnbreaker. You're on the boat. It's
Hmm.
what's his name from the raid. I already forget his name. He's off the side of the boat, and you're, and
Hmm.
they were using defensive picking up the bombs, and I was like, oh no, 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 please don't do that. Like I can heal through that damage. There's like one or two of you picking up bombs. I can heal through
Yeah.
that. The problem was I wasn't able. I was holding my breath and praying, basically healing through the AoE. Nobody was
Hmm.
using defensives on that. And we lost somebody at one point because sometimes I could heal
Hmm.
through it if we got really lucky. Sometimes I couldn't heal through it and we would lose somebody. I wasn't able to heal them up enough to break even, is what I like to think of it. Like where
Sure.
the damage ticks are still going out, but you're doing enough healing that they're going to survive the
The
next
health bars
tick.
are still moving
They're still
upwards.
moving
Sometimes you're
up.
doing everything you can and you're like, they're still going down. Like,
Yes.
what? Yeah, you're just
And
pouring water in a bucket with a hole at the bottom
yes.
and you're just
And
like, I
they
don't
just continue
know.
to take damage.
Yeah.
So we realized like that's what I mean by progging. Like because of our particular
Hmm.
comp, because I wasn't playing a disc priest and I couldn't shield everybody or whatever,
And you couldn't call
we
for a
needed.
mass barrier or AMZ
Yeah,
or
we didn't
whatever.
have
Yeah,
a
those
survival hunter
tools.
and we had a rep paladin that could bubble or sack somebody.
Hmm.
So it we that was where another example where we really had to micromanage everybody's defenses. And I said, okay, you have to use something during these AoEs. And the moment
Hmm.
we did, because we wiped and we immediately pulled again, the key was fine. I sat back and I was like, oh, I can breathe again. Like that
Yeah.
was the difference between like holding my breath, being like, oh my God, is someone gonna die? To like, oh, there's no damage. What is good? Because druids are
Right.
really good at, uh
So
like
did you guys
keeping
end up,
healing.
I'm curious, like, did you end up staggering for those dots where you're like, okay, you bubble sack here, nobody else press anything. I'm going to life bloom the two others. And then, like, or how did it, or did you say
Well,
everyone defensive this
we got
set
to
and then all convoke this set? Or how did you guys end up
yeah, it
there?
was basically you needed because they were far enough apart that you could have a defensive for all of them, or we had like a sack or something
Hmm.
that so you had personals and then you had externals that
Okay.
could be used. And that's kind of like what we shuffled around. But it
Cool.
was pretty much like every AoE I found that I needed something, or because I use Spy Masters. If people didn't have anything, I
Mm.
could wait, I could pool a 40 stack Spy Masters, go into
Oh,
a pull like
wow.
that, and
Yeah.
use that almost as like a healing cooldown.
Right. With the, sorry, excuse me. With the
It was
heart,
just
or not heart of the wild, Swiftmen wild growth with like 40 spy masters probably goes pretty crazy.
yeah, and a full ramp into that. Yeah, the
Yeah.
life boom on the squishies DPS. Yeah, that's
Hmm. That's
yep.
cool. That's fun. Like, it's frustrating, but it's also kind of fun. I'm sure you left that encounter being like, we kind of nailed it, guys. Like, that was
Yeah.
sick. Like, even if, I don't know, that's one of the perks of having a group of friends to play with. Like, when the key's bricked, you're like, you can leave or you could hang out. Let's pull this boss like 2 or 3 times. And that way, when we come in here on a 15 next time, we're not like, oh my God, it's this boss on a 15. It's like, hey, we just pulled this 3 times in a row. We
Yeah.
know how to do this. We know we can. And it takes a lot of that pressure off because sometimes if it's the first time seeing something on a difficulty, like the whole group is a little bit on edge and everyone's playing like 10% sloppy. They're kind of scared. They're like health potting when they don't need to because they just don't want to die. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really nice to, like you said, like prog something in a depleted key and then come back later and have that under your belt of like, mathematically we can live this. Like we just have
Yeah.
to execute, and it's very assuring, I think. It's fun. Okay. Then we got Cliff. Says, does she pug keys? And if she does, how long does it take to get into groups she'll get IO for? Buddy of mine does Resto Druid, has all 13s, and people take shamans and H-Pals over him.
That's really strange. So I do Pug Keys. I think when people hear me say like, "Oh, our push group,"
Mm-hmm.
we consistently since Dragonflight season 3 have always had to pug a tank. Always. Season
Damn.
3, season 4, season 1 of The War Within. We still are so up until like maybe a week ago, last week we were pugging a tank. Um but then we kind of talked our season 3 tank that we met through a pug. We were pugging him.
Nice.
Um, he stopped in season 1. He took a break, and we were like, "Hey, we don't want to pug anymore. Do you want to like come back and play with us?" And he said, "Yes."
Mm-hmm.
So, um, we're not really, at least at the time of this recording, we're not pugging a tank anymore. Thank goodness. But
Nice.
we generally also have to pug a third DPS. And again, we met a really awesome
Mm.
DK a couple weeks ago, and we've been playing with him, which has been great. But in general, yes, I typically do have to pug. It's the reason why I didn't get title season 4, even though I could have, again, second place in Eve Ascension. Like,
Right.
it's we knew the dungeons. It just we
Was
didn't
Eve
have the
on Tournament
players.
Realm? Or
Yeah,
was
it
it
was on
on
tournament
regular?
because it was
Okay.
around the time of, I want to say it was TGP, I think was around the same time. And TGP is also in the tournament realm. So the way it works is like you would sign up for that, but you get access to the tournament realm,
Right.
but
I
then
gotcha.
you're using it for a different reason. Yeah. So we did
Yeah.
that. So we were able to like pick the keys that we needed and or that they assigned to us. Um, yeah, I do pug a lot. When it comes to pugging into keys, I haven't tried to pug into because my score right now, it's a little bit, I was in title range, it's a little bit under title range now because I was working on the disc priest last week.
Hmm.
I think title range now is all 16s and I have 116 done. So I'm roughly
Oh,
probably about 100 points off now.
okay.
Um I haven't tried to pug into title keys. I think pugging title is incredibly difficult. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter
for
how many
sure.
people are playing in a season. It's interesting because there's a range. There's title range itself, right? Which right now would be 16s and 17s. And then there's a range right below it, which would be 14s to 16s. That range, 14 to 16, is incredibly difficult to pug into. It always has been, especially in my
Hmm.
experience. Doesn't matter if I'm playing the meta healer, because even if you are playing a meta healer, everybody else is also playing it, and they might have a
Right.
little bit more score than you or whatever.
Yeah.
They have a 17 that they timed that you don't, and maybe that's impressive and they invite them over you. So it doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
It's just always kind of a struggle. And that's why I say a lot of times, if you get over that hurdle, that like whatever that small range
Yeah,
underneath title is,
I know what you mean. There's like a valley of like
yes,
you're
as
gonna
soon as
fall
you
in this
get
pit.
you climb out of that
Yeah.
pit, you're usually pretty good. You have
And
to just
people
get
are
out of
more
that pit,
friendly, I think. Like a little less I don't
out of
remember if it
outside
was
of that
title range or
range.
not, but maybe it was title
Yeah.
range. When I was playing Shadow Priest, I noticed like and I'm just making up numbers, I don't remember, but let's say like super high keys were like 28s at the time and like maybe 26 is title. And I would be doing like 24s and people would just light you up if you messed up anything. And
Yeah.
then you get to 26s or whatever. Again, making up numbers, I don't
Mhm.
remember. But you'd mess up, the tank would butt pull something, everyone would die, and people more often than not would be like, "Oh, unfortunate. Thanks for the try." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" Like there was just such a shift because you'd think like as you got higher and higher, like people would be more toxic, but there's actually more of an understanding of like you're gonna brick like 80% of these keys. Like you
Yep.
don't want to just like light people up for no reason, and it doesn't feel good. And even selfishly, like you don't want to have a bad reputation of not handling failure well. Like that's something
Yeah.
I've learned over the years is like I try to find people that can handle other people's failures really well, and avoid people that are like, how is it even possible to die to that? Like, what do you mean? And they'll like read you a death log like the second after you die, and you're like, I know I died to a frontal. Like, I
Yeah.
don't need you to tell me this like, right now. It's
Yeah.
just annoying, or like I don't know if I guess if that makes sense, but like
No,
find
it
people that
does.
can handle failures and especially other people's failures has been really helpful for me to like kind of I cultivate like a BNet list of just people that we're not doing the highest keys, but I know that they're just fun to play with. And
They're
to me,
chill.
that's really
Yeah.
all that matters right now. I don't have like crazy high goals, especially this season. I'm really trying to prioritize just like if my friend is on and he wants to gear his shaman in a 12 or 13 or whatever, like okay, I have a tune that makes sense for me to play. Like I'll do it on my priest to get some crests or whatever, versus like going out on my own and trying to pug like a 15. It's just like I don't know. I lean towards hanging out with friends more. Maybe I'm just like I feel old now. Like I'm just trying to game at the end of the day, like hang out and whatever. And
Have a good
if
time.
we
Yeah,
get high
especially with
keys,
friends.
we get high keys. But if we don't, like I have a tune where the key is challenging enough where I'm like enjoying it, and playing with friends is super fun. Especially
Yeah,
when people die to like funny shit, you can like laugh about it or whatever.
yeah. Clip it maybe if you're streaming or yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's those things that you remember more, like the funny moments with your friends versus like getting a drop of IO with pugs that you'll never see again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's a
Um,
good point because I mean I could try to pug to especially on my draw, I could try to pug to title, but I don't
mhm.
really want to. I don't want to be pugging 16s and 17s with people I don't really know. And I mean, here's the thing, because I do recommend pugging. And when people are like, "Oh, I don't have a group. How do I get into Mythic
Yeah,
Plus?" Pugging is the best way because then you can add
you
people
got
to
to
battle
meet
tap.
people somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
actually how I met Butter. Butter was we're pugging a third DPS, and he was our third, and now he's, we played with him every day. And same
Yeah.
with the tanks, same with the DK we met. And so with that said though, I mean that's pugging just as a general concept is different than what I mean. I don't want to
Mm.
have to pug title. I'd rather try and attempt it with friends.
Hmm.
I think that's where I'm at now.
Yeah. I feel that way too. Like I tell this story every time and people are gonna stop telling, but like my one time that I pushed like really high keys was it was the Brackenhide season. I don't know if it was season 2. It was right after Augg came out. It was Brackenhide,
Oh, okay.
not Ruby Life Pool, so not season 1. It was either 2 or 3. But anyway, it was during the HPAL, Guardian Druid, Shadow Priest, Fire
Season
Mage, that
2.
whole
Yep.
era. Yeah, and we were playing Blood DK, Holy Priest, Boomkin, Fire Mage. And we were like 2 levels below like everyone that's doing meta stuff. But it was really fun because I don't know, do you know Leanne LaRoque TV? I don't know if you ever crossed paths with her. She doesn't stream
Oh,
anymore.
LaRoe. So
But
Marvel,
she's
when we were
yes,
doing the
they're friends,
DDI,
yeah.
yeah, she has a macro that kept saying LaRoe, and I was like,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
Right. Right. Yeah. So she was the holy priest and like there was like 1 or 2 holy priests that had done the keys that we were trying to do and it felt really fun. And I was just an Augg and I had never pushed like anywhere near title. These guys just like scooped me up and they were like, "All right, let's go." And so I was just happy to be along for the ride. Like I wasn't going to complain like you should be playing HPAL. So I had a different attitude, I think, but I don't know. That was super fun to be like playing with friends in a setting where like very few people have tried to do this on these specs. So even though it's not world first key or whatever, like I don't know, there's something cool about that. So if you're playing Resto Druid with your
I
friends and
agree.
you're not playing Disc Priest, there's still I would say it's almost more fun in a lot of cases for you to be healing your friends as Resto Druid and being like, this is my spec, like I play this, I love it.
Yeah.
Um I don't know. As long as everyone has the same kind of attitude and goals around it, I think you run into problems where there's a meta DPS player that just wants everyone to play meta and just is like, we'd be doing 2 levels higher, which I don't think is true this season. This season really feels like I do you feel that if you rerolled the disc, you'd be like 3 key levels higher than you are? Or is it like
No,
a
I
half or
actually think
1 maybe
Resto
at
Druid
most?
feels really, really good this season. And I
Hmm.
stand by that statement as well because compared to season one, I will admit that hurt. That was difficult. It wasn't
Hmm.
impossible, but it was noticeably difficult. This season, it does not feel as difficult. It feels
Hmm.
great. I think there are a lot of fights that just have raw throughput healing that are required, and especially some fights like Candle King that I think are a little bit trickier for Disc
Mm,
Priest to heal through.
sure.
I heal that on my Resto Druid, no problem. I could take a
That's
nap.
so cool.
Like that fight is not a problem ever
You
for
roll
me.
up
And
and you're like, all right, I got my water here. I'm playing with one hand.
yes,
Yeah.
and we've done that. I haven't timed to 16 yet, Dark Flame, just because
Hmm.
we haven't had time to do it. We've had it 2 weeks in a row, and we just can't get everybody together to do it. But I want to say I've tried it. We definitely healed it on a 15. Totally easy. Like there are
That's
so many
cool.
fights like
Yeah.
that. Big Mama and Floodgate as well as another
I was
one.
gonna say
Uh,
Floodgate. Yeah.
Swamp Face is another. Now that
Yep.
healers don't, they made that change early on, but healers don't get targeted with the chains. That is a
Yes.
very easy fight for Restored. I
Even
say
those
easy, and that's
blood
subjective, but
warpers in Floodgate, those trash
oh
mobs
my
that do that
gosh.
big
Okay, those
AoE
are
suck
difficult.
thing. They are, but I would say I notice when I'm playing with the Resto Druid versus playing with other specs, like or maybe Jess was just really good at Druid, but we pulled that. We did 14 of that recently, and I was like, all right, like here comes the AoE, and I was watching. And I'm like, no one's even dropping below
Where's
like
the damage?
70%. Yeah, like what the
Yeah.
this class is crazy. And she's also just an insane healer, so like I'm sure she's got everything planned out. But like sometimes as discipline, whether I'm healing it or someone else is, like we get to like 20% and we have a heal absorb still, and they're like trying to top us. Say they don't have their like specific buffed cooldowns or whatever, because there's only so much you could do with shields there. Like you can't just pre-shield that mechanic. It comes out every 15 seconds and it does more than your shields. You actually do need to be doing like HPS during that.
Yeah.
Whereas a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
mechanics is like a stomp and you're like, listen, I'll pre-shield everyone and then I top them when I top them. This
Yep.
one's like, there's big rot and you owe healing on that absorb. And
Yep.
guess what? There's another one coming in 12 seconds.
There's
Like, get
yep.
ready, And
It's like the
I think,
paladins in Priory. It's like as soon as one AoE goes off,
yes.
another one's going, and then another one, and especially if you
Yep.
pull like 4 of them. Yeah, it's the
Hmm.
same thing. It's
That
like
one's a
some
fun pull
there's
for sure.
AoE where it's just the initial hit, but there's no
Hmm.
damage coming after it. So you're like, all right, as long as
Yes.
everybody mitigates it, great. But
Hmm.
it's the pulls or the fights that have damage that comes after the initial pull that can be a little scary.
Yes, totally. Or an overlap, like there's a debuff that goes out and then there's a big stomp.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary because you're like, I guess as a Resto Druid, you're like trying to life bloom and spam regrowth them to get them to 100. So when the stomp comes out, they're going to 20, and then you're like, they still have the dot, so I got to get them back up.
That's
It's a
actually
lot.
tricky. I find I have the hardest time with that sometimes because if I don't have bark skin or iron, or I have to use iron bark on somebody else, bear is
Hmm.
always a defensive. I always treat bear as a defensive, especially if
Sure,
you,
yeah.
there's a couple talents that you can, if you get more stamina or whatever, maybe you're using
Mm.
frenzy regen with it or something. But the problem is in bear form, you can't heal. So you have to
Yeah.
top everybody off in time and know that they're still
Mm.
going to take a tick, maybe 2 ticks of that debuff before that initial hit goes off after. And you
Mm.
can't do, because if you slip out of bear form, you're dead.
That's
So
crazy.
those are
Yeah, that's
those
intense.
are tricky for me.
Hmm. That makes sense. Yeah, because DPS get to just be like a Boomy, they don't want to, but they could sit bear form for a full channel frenzied regen and just wait it out.
Yeah.
They don't always, but they can. So, but it is, yeah, that's tricky because you're like, I don't want to die. I have to stay in bear form, but like, you better live the next few seconds,
Yes.
otherwise I'm dead. Yeah, that's fun. Oh, I wanted to ask, how do you feel about? I think Skull Bash is way easier to take either now or just this expansion, but there was a time when it wasn't always acceptable in all keys to play it, but I
Oh, I
always
think it was
did.
last season. Last season was kind of a pain to
Okay.
get to, if I remember correctly. This season I always take it. Um,
Mm,
I also, there's a talent that is fluid form, so you don't have to be
mm,
in cat form to actually
that's
use it, which
amazing. Yeah.
basically eliminates a GCD for your kick, which was I always thought was so dumb. I
Yeah.
actually honestly I would really like to just see Skull Bash just with fluid form kind of baked in, but
Mm,
instead of having to use a talent point, because the one I give up is cat damage. There's a talent
mm,
that increases your cat damage, and that's the one that I give up. I swap it out for the fluid form. That just has to do with playstyle, I think. Like, because I know plenty of druids that don't use fluid form, and they're just
mm.
good enough that they just know when to slip into. They can time it. I don't think I'm that good. I don't think I'm that good. I could maybe practice and get that good, but
It's hard
I
because you
just
need like two globals, essentially, or
yeah.
one, but it feels like two mentally. It's like you have to
And
be like, all right, this
anybody,
cast is starting. I have a macro on my mouse that is,
yeah.
if not in cat form, it puts you in cat form, and then if in cat form, it's kick, which now I got rid
Okay.
of because fluid form. But I would just slam that button like repeatedly, and it would hit my focus kick always. But
Yeah.
there was a time when not a lot of people played it because they needed more defensive talents. But I was just doing weekly keys, so no one's kicking, and I'm not dying. So I'm like, I'm taking this button, and people would yell at, they'd whisper me and be like, "Why do you have Skull Bash?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Why
Really?
are you mad that And then I would like look at the overall kicks, and I'm above everyone. I'm above the tank.
Yeah.
Like
That was me last night in
I
level
don't know how to
11.
heal, but I could kick a volley every 12 seconds. Like,
Yeah.
it's way more impactful for me. But I'm glad that you can just take it now if you want, and it's not like a survival sacrifice.
Yep.
It definitely feels good. Um, all right, I have a few more things, but I know we're coming up on your time, so let me
No,
see.
that's okay. We can go because I know that you don't have a lot of time either, so we can go over
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little bit if you
I'm
want.
good for a little bit, but let me know if you got to
Okay.
run. I won't keep you like forever, but
Mm,
I want to be respectful of we
yeah.
spoke about like an hour or so. So if you got to go, let me know, but I'll ask a few more questions to hang out. Um, how are you feeling about resilient keystones
Oh my gosh, I
in
love them.
general?
I think this is one of the
Yeah.
best additions that Blizzard could have made to Mythic Plus. Really, really good. It feels good to know that like it feels like okay, you time all 12s or 13s or whatever key level it is, and that's like your reward for it. And it is
Mm-hmm.
just so nice. I also think it helps friends too. So like I have the DK friend that we found a couple weeks ago. He has I think maybe a lot more time than or has dedicated a lot more time to Mythic Plus than we
Mm-hmm.
have. He has all 16s done. And so he was
Mm.
the one who had the Dark Flame Clef that was Brazil. And
That's
I had a
awesome.
little bit
Yeah.
of time before. It was so good. I had to get ready for stream and I wasn't streaming WoW. Otherwise, I would have
Mm.
just started the stream, and but I was like, all right, I have an hour to get this key, and we fucked up the first pull in Dark Flame. Because we again, it was just me and him, so we pugged 2 other DPS and we pugged a tank, and that right there, they weren't even in voice. Like, it is what it is, and we were like, all right, go again. So, and then we just started the key all over again. And that's
With
really,
the same people?
really nice.
Like the same
I think
pugs?
I think so. One person might have dropped. I think the mage might have dropped, then we got a new mage.
Okay.
But it's just really nice to be able to prog the keys in that sense. However, I do recognize that. So I don't sell keys for gold or anything like that. I'm just not really,
Yeah, me
that's not my
neither.
thing. But
Same.
I do know that a lot of people do that, and a lot of people buy title. And I think Brazil maybe makes that a little bit easier for them, because again, if you're trying to buy title, let's say the group messes up by accident, whatever, you can just start the key all over again.
Yeah, you have
Right. So
infinite tries, like as long as they have
exactly.
all 18s, or I mean, not a lot of people have all 18s, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. I think in general, though, because that's just a very small part of the community, and that's always been there, right? Like, people have always bought raid kills, CE, and
Sure.
AOTC and things like that. So it is what it is. But I think the benefits far outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, I love it. I had the same thing, Dark Flame. I was, what was it, a 14 or something? I've been leveling up my Guardian Druid, or gearing it up, the last couple weeks, and I found a 14 Dark Flame Resilient. So I joined.
Nice.
And I was telling this story yesterday, but like, we go, and the first boss, that bus, I call it a bus, like the thing that flies through the room. I'll just say,
yes.
I just got hit by a bus,
yeah,
whenever someone gets hit.
Yeah.
3 deaths to the bus. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Okay. And I think we still killed it, and we kept going. And then we get to Candle King, and we die to the interrupt. And I'm like, oh man. The fear kick on Candle King, which is just a 2-kick rotation, but it was just the perfect storm of, even the Boomkin sent beam on the first one, and then we just barely didn't have the kick. So we go again, and then we die to the kick again, and I'm like, guys, please, like, we're all trying to hold, like, all kick first, coordinating. So we wiped that again, and then we go in, and then we time it. But it was just some of the goofiest wipes. But you don't have to have that heartbreak of like, great, now the key's dead and blah blah blah.
The key's dead because of one missed interrupt. Yeah, that's
and it was all pugs. It was just strangers I had never met. We were playing together for like an hour 20 almost, probably, and it just felt good, because each time we went through, I was like, no one got hit by the bus on the first boss. We nailed every kick now, and once you make it past that boss, it's like kind of hard to lose the key, I think, unless someone's just like not paying attention completely.
Unless something's going wrong in that last hallway, the one with the cart. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like you're kind of home free. Like, you can mess it up, but once you get through Candle King, it's pretty good. So once we got through that, we got it, and it felt really fun. It's just like, it's very new for M Plus to feel like that. Whereas usually it's like we missed the kick on Candle King. Like, in an old system, I could see the pugs yelling at each other, disbanding, and then everyone's leaving with this like bad energy. Versus this gives you an opportunity to actually learn from your mistakes, go again, and of course someone has to have the key already. But I kind of call it like, it's like you're holding the door open for your friends. Like, if you want to go ahead and say you're pugging, or you have a different group of friends, and you get all 14s or 15s, and then you hang out with your other group, you're like, hey guys, let's just spam my 15 priory until we get it. Yeah. And a lot of the time, that's when the most learning happens, is when there's room for error, and you'd be like, let's try this pull, or let's do this, or I'm loving it. I haven't heard anyone really complain about it.
I haven't either.
I really hope it stays forever. Like, it's a good system. Now, do you think that it should extend further down to like plus 10s, plus 5s, or do you think it's good like around the 12 range?
That's a great question. I think, so I'm trying to think of why people wouldn't want it, or why it wouldn't be a good idea to go down to the plus 10s. And I was about to say, I wonder how that would affect like getting 2K, KSM, the 2.5 Keystone Hero achievement. But then at the same time, they just added a new Keystone, I think it's Keystone Legend. I think
the
that's
3K
what it's called.
One with the mount.
The 3K. Yeah, and that's all 12s and some 13s. So or maybe it's all 13s. But either way, it's a combination, I think.
Something like that. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And that does, you could technically just find a group that has Brazil keys and do it that way. Or,
Hmm.
I don't know. I was just wondering how that would affect the Keystone Hero, Keystone Master range, and what that, how, if that would negatively or have any negative effects on the community. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know
I
either. I
I'm
will say it felt great to in the beginning of the season. Like tens were kind of easy-ish. 12s were like
Yeah,
pretty hard in the first couple weeks, especially with like new dungeons. Not everyone
yeah,
plays PTR, obviously, or like a lot of it's like, hey, I've only seen this dungeon 3 times, you know.
yeah,
Um, and then when you get your resilient 12s, you're like, nice. Like now we've entered the next level of the system, which is like you can't fall below this point, and it felt really good.
yeah.
And I don't know if you make it available for every key level, maybe you miss out on that good feeling. Though I don't know if that's worth it. I don't know. I go back and forth on it, but I just like to ask because everyone Marvel
Well, I
says
think.
absolutely no. It should always
Oh,
deplete the
really?
12s. People should figure it out and get good. No, that's not what she said, but
I
something
think
like that.
so. One thing that comes to mind is, and I want to say it's because, um, I think it might have been Cybear who tweeted about it. I think he was trying
I
to
heard about
pug.
this. Yeah.
He was trying to find like people to join his 9, and there weren't a lot of people signing up for it because technically, if you think about it, like why would you do a 9 when you could do a 7? Yes,
Right.
you get a little bit more crests, I'm sure, but if you're looking to just get crests or you're looking to get hero track gear, why would you do a 9? And if you don't need any of that, why would you just not do a 10 for the weekly? It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
a plus 9 is kind of not the best key level because it's between the people who are trying to do the lowest key level for the maximum rewards and a plus 10, which is the weekly. So not a lot of people,
Mm,
I think, queue for 9s in general. I'm not
mm.
saying nobody does, but so I could see the argument of, okay, it could be helpful for a 10 because then more people's keys are not going to drop under a 10, like that kind of thing, unless you purposely want
Oh, I
to
see.
do a
Like
key
if he
under a
had a
10.
10, depleted it, and now his key's a 9, and he's like, great, what am I supposed to do now? That I
Exactly.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see it dropping to 10. I don't think it'd be the end of the world. Like, it'd
Yeah, I
still
don't think
feel
it would
good in the
either.
beginning of the season to get all your 10s. But then again, the portals are at 10s already.
That's
I don't know.
true.
I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, that's
It's
very
tricky.
true. I know
I
there's
also, I don't
and
want to
that's
sound like I'm complaining. If anyone at Blizzard
no,
is
not at all.
listening,
No, I think
I
you and I
love
are
it.
trying to figure out like logistically would it make sense? Because I'm not trying to say I'm either 100% for or 100% against it either. My
Sure,
mind
yeah,
always just goes to like, okay, if we did it, what would be the repercussions? How would
the
this affect other parts of the
unforeseen
system? Yeah,
consequences. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so we got resilient keys. I'll do a couple more questions maybe. Um, LVY versus Cell. I forget. I want to say you're an LVY enjoyer forever, but I haven't checked recently if you've swapped or if you're still rocking LVY or how you
For
feel about all that.
months now, I've been meaning to swap to Cell. I just haven't had a
Mm.
lot of time because like setting up a UI takes a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
time.
it's very personal too. It's like sacred.
Yeah.
Like I can't
And
just throw in a profile. Yeah.
yes, and you could just, and people tell me, "Oh, you wouldn't even need to use Click." I love Click. Click is another add-on that I love.
Mm-hmm.
The developer is
Same.
also incredibly kind.
Yes.
And I love that add-on. And people are like, "Oh, but Cell has that built in." And I'm like, "Okay, all right,
What
that
about my
sounds
click
great." But
profile I've
also
had for
like, what about
7
my Click?
years? Or
Yes,
yeah, yeah. No,
exactly.
I 100%.
Oh,
I
so
feel you.
I don't currently use it. I have heard many, actually, let me put it this way. I have not heard a negative thing about it. Everyone I've ever
Mm.
talked to has always told me, "Use this. It's great. You're gonna love it." I just haven't had the
Yes.
time to try it.
To be honest, okay, I think it's great. It's a good add-on. If you're using something like Voodoo, I would get it. Or like I hate Voodoo. It's just an
I
ongoing
do too.
meme
I'm
over
not
the
a big
years
fan
of
of
like
Voodoo.
people use Voodoo. I'm like they need to be investigated by the FBI. But um I don't know. I've always used LVI and I basically just made my cell profile look and feel exactly like my LVI. And I don't know how UI nerd you want to go with this, but um, with my HOTS and my like heal indicators, I actually made years ago, and I've just always updated it. It's like I have 4 different weak aura groups that are anchored to like top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. I don't use the LVI aura indicators, like the
Oh,
colored
okay.
icons, which I think you do, and it looks good. But
Yeah.
just me as like I don't know why I just set it up this way, but I like to have like for the defensives I could show you. I don't want to like make it a whole thing, but I don't know. So basically, I don't use the like aura buff indicators in Cell, so my profile is a little weird. But I do like the interface of it. It's a little easier to work than LVUI. The hurdle was getting rid of click and setting up your binds in it.
Yeah.
Felt really annoying, and I felt like saying goodbye to an old friend when I uninstalled
Yeah.
click. I was like, I think I'll need
Oh,
it at some point though. Like, won't I? And then I finally uninstalled it because I just had it disabled.
yeah.
I don't know why it's just not compatible, but at the end of the day, it does the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's click
Yeah.
or cell or like if your party frames make sense to you, good. Like use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't feel like I don't
If
know.
it works
Whatever
and it works for
UI is very
you,
personal and very like yeah.
I agree.
I'm just pulling up really fast just to show you. I like showing healers my party frames just to see what they think.
Oh, I can't wait to see
Let me
it.
see.
I love looking at like what people's party frames look like. I just because it
Yeah,
gives you ideas too sometimes.
totally. Like my UI, I always just steal elements of stuff.
Yeah, I do the same. I'm like,
Okay.
oh, I like that. I'm gonna add that to mine.
Yeah. So I'm not actually healing, I'm playing
Oh, I
bear, but you'll be
see.
able to see kind of
Yeah. Oh, wow. I like
what's
that you
going
have
on
the
here.
big cooldowns. Is that Omni CD to the left of the
Yeah, so
frames?
this is something I've always done. It's Omni CD, but I make different groups. So like
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see my cursor, I think you can.
Hmm.
But basically this is like one group is the large cooldown, and
Yep.
then below that will be like defensive sorted by like importance. So there's
Oh,
like
interesting.
bubble,
Okay.
divine protection, and then the row on top is more either minor damage cooldowns or utilities. So there's like
Okay.
blood elf, racial freedom, stuff like that. It's not all sorted perfectly.
Yeah.
And then health pod is always like bottom row all the way to the left. And so that's just Omni CD. But then the actual buffs, like you could see the bark skin there. Oh, I was playing
Yep.
Boomy. I was just randomly trying Boomy. I don't play Boomy. I think
Gotcha.
we depleted this key and they left. Yeah. Yo, this is a fun pug. I should go to a different run. But yeah. The one before this I was tanking and we timed it, I promise. I would never. But yeah, so you could see like the buffs in the top right.
Yeah.
So top right on the party frames will always be defensive. So I can see he's got like
Okay.
8 stacks for bear form AMZ. So I just know visually, like if I see someone has a bunch of icons there, even if I don't know what it means, like they're pretty safe. And then I look at this
Yeah.
priest and they don't have any of those buffs. So like
Oh,
if I
good
was on my
point.
paladin, I might sack them. Um, I don't know. It just makes sense to me. And then you could see I have regrowth and rejuve on myself from playing Guardian Druid.
Yeah.
So that'll be only buffs from the player, like the tune I'm playing will be there. So that's
Mhm.
like my life bloom would be there. And the reason why I like to do it this way is because with weak auras, you can actually change so many more aspects of it. Like when I'm playing Resto Druid, my life bloom icon is anchored to the right. It's always first, and it's like 20% larger than all the other icons.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I could
Okay.
just at a glance see like it just makes sense to my head that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very particular about my UI. A lot of people are like, this is too much. Like, I don't like this or whatever. And it's adapted over the years. But
Yeah.
again, UI is very personal. And it's like, whatever works for
Hmm.
you, works for you.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
but I always like to show them, especially to healers. And I like right above the tank, I always sort tank first because
Hmm.
Incarn, Meta, um, Guardian of Ancient Kings, like anything that only tanks have, I have as a large icon above them.
Okay. Oh,
Like if
yeah,
you could
yeah,
see
yeah.
the
I see
cursor,
that
see
here.
like 20
Yeah.
seconds Incarn. So it's like when I'm healing, I will never miss that they have their giant button up. So like I won't
Mhm.
like bark them during it usually unless I have to. Um, I don't know. Sorry, I just wanted to do a little show and tell
No,
with the
I like it a lot.
UI.
What is the is that a weak aura that's in the middle of where the incarn is 2-1 and now it's going and now you have a bark skin there instead? Is that a weak
Oh,
aura
like
pack?
for in the center of my screen.
Hmm. On the bottom.
Yeah, that's just my like. It's just a dynamic group. I think Quasi makes a lot of them. I made this one, but it's basically the same as
Nice.
what Quasi would have too. But yeah, I really like weak cores. I spend like probably 30% of my time in when I'm logged in, just like making random weak cores and
That's
stuff.
awesome. Yeah, it looks really clean.
Thank you. Oh, and this one I'm kind of proud of too is I made one that it's gonna come up in a sec when the kick comes up. So in the middle it says kick focus with that
Hmm.
bar and it has a sound.
Oh.
So I made it like if your interrupt is available and your focus target is casting the spell that you would want to kick, then it'll make a sound. So I've
Okay.
trained my brain that anytime I hear that sound, I slam that button, and I give this to people as they're learning, and it helps them a lot.
Oh, good.
Because that way, you just go into the pool, you focus the caster, and then you never
Yeah.
think about it. Like, unless you're on Druid, because you will die to the charge
Yeah.
if you're not looking.
If you're charging,
Um,
I mean, I've never charged through something that's killed me. I've
no,
never
you
done
never,
that before.
definitely.
No, it's never happened.
Yeah. And a lot of other things. I'm a weak aura nerd. I made a dwarf helper that people like a lot, which is like if you have something that you want to dwarf, it'll just like bounce a dwarf icon.
I didn't
And
realize. Oh, I didn't realize any. I didn't realize. So I feel like I'm okay at weak auras. I can kind of like make something super simple, but I need to keep that in mind that you are a weak aura wizard.
not a wizard, but I don't know. I'm just like, it's something that gives me a lot of joy, is like solving problems in advance. And then I also know when I'm healing my friends, because we do a lot of alt, like weekly keys or whatever, I know that if, say there's 2 dispels, like Last Boss Siege or something,
Mhm.
I know that if they have my weak aura and they get that debuff and they have diffuse magic, there's an icon saying press diffuse. So I just
Oh, okay.
won't dispel them because I know that they have it, and I know they're going to press it faster than I could even tell them. So
Yeah.
it just like makes a lot of, I don't know, it makes things simpler. And my friends have told me they'll get whispers from healers and be like, your dwarfs were amazing. And they're like, I don't know, I just press it when it lights up. Like it's a pug saver, you know?
That's awesome.
Okay. So I don't really, there's nothing like super that I needed to ask you. Making friends and pugs. Okay, real quick, last thing, new swirlies. We just love them, right? I mean, it's not much
Oh
to
my
talk
gosh,
about
they're
there,
so
but
amazing. Yes, I think
shout out
anything
to
that
whoever did that.
yes, I think it increases accessibility in such a big way, and it's
Mhm.
something that for years I kind of wish that WoW, because I also play Final Fantasy 14 and they are kind of
Oh,
known for their
okay, yeah.
telegraphs, and
Mhm.
not that I wish that WoW had something exactly like that. I mean, theirs are like, if the telegraph is there, you don't stand in it. The moment it goes away, you're free to just stand there. It doesn't matter if the animation hasn't gone off yet. If that
Hmm.
telegraph disappears, you're fine to walk in there. I
Mm.
But that's not the case in WoW. WoW just shows you where something will be, and I
Mhm.
appreciate that. It's just kind of, because I feel like a lot of times, on fights or raid bosses or dungeons or something, you think you're out of something, and you like, this happened to me.
Mhm.
I have plenty of time to move out, but I die to something, and I'm like, well, if I had known I was in it, I would have kept moving. But I thought I was safe, so I
Yeah.
stopped
Or you
moving. I
moved a little
planted,
bit.
like,
You're like, I
yeah,
played this mechanic. I saw it. I moved out of it, and then I still died, and
yeah.
it
So
feels
I think
bad.
this is a huge, plus for the,
Mhm.
for the game.
It's a lot of people slamming their desks. This is bullshit.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
I've heard
exactly.
that. I've heard that so much less this season. Where people go,
Yeah.
I wasn't in that. And honestly, with the new swirlies, I don't even want to say it, but they're kind of lenient. Like,
Yeah.
I've been in some of them where I'm like, my toe was in the border of that, and I didn't die. So like
Yeah.
these ones, if you die to these new swirlies, you know it's on you. You're like,
Yeah.
you're not like angry at the game.
Yeah.
You're just like, shit, all right, I gotta move faster.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. I love dying to my mistakes and not to like unclear visuals. And I think
Exactly.
everyone feels that way. It's just less
Yeah.
frustrating. You know what to do next time. It's like, it's cool. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the
Yes.
show.
I loved
I
this. I
really
always love
appreciate
talking
it.
about WoW and Mythic Plus and add-ons,
Same.
all the things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to do keys with you.
Sure. Yeah. I'll send you. I don't know if I have you on BNet from when we played in the thing, but I'll
Oh,
send you my
yeah,
BNet
I
and
can send
stuff.
it. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you want, because my bear is like 668. I'm doing like,
Nice.
I have like half 14s. I'm gonna start 15 soon. So if you're like
Okay.
setting up your priests and you want some practice or whatever, like, and you see me around, like, feel free to hit me up. I'm not the best tank, but I don't know.
I
I'm
mean,
not,
if
like,
you're trying
toxic or
14s and
whatever.
15s.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I'll do whatever. Like, I have friends that
Yeah.
like, or still need 13s or 12s, or like, we just hang out and have a good
Yeah,
time.
that's
So if you
awesome.
ever like your main team doesn't want to play with the priest yet or something, like, feel free to hit me up if you see me on.
Okay.
And
Sounds good.
I'll have you back on at some point, but it'll be on cooldown. I won't bother you, even though I know you
No,
said I
no.
wasn't bothering you. But
No,
thank you
no.
again.
Yeah, thank you so
All
much.
right. Bye.